Hello, everybody. And I have edited a session we had earlier today on the way of the cross. So this is an edited version because people have asked for a copy. So here it is. And because our theme is greater love has no one than this, that someone laid down his life for his friends. And Jesus said to us, "You are my friends."
My friend is the King of all kings, and yet my friend walks beside me. My friend, is the ruler of the world, and yet my friend stops to guide me. My friend tells me that there's a road beyond the bending that isn't ending. My friend is there at the end. Oh, my guiding light through the darkest night. My guiding light through the darkest night. Is there at the my friend knows the secrets in my soul. He comes to say, not to judge me. My friend sees the pain within my heart. He'll always stay right beside me. My friend tells me that there's a road beyond the bending that isn't ending. My friend is there at the end. Oh, my guiding light through the darkest night. My guiding light through the darkest night. He is there. He's there at the end. God is here. 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 God's here to the
And so we come to the beginning of our little session on the way of the cross. We have come to a moment in the world where we realize we have a pandemic, And we think we're going to go back to normal or a little bit different from normal. This is not true at all. And the pandemic is not just about a disease or a virus, it's far more than that. It's sort of like the apex, or as it were, a sign or a signal. It's like when a person has fever, we know there's something wrong. The fever is not the problem, it's what's causing the fever. And we're in a pandemic for a reason because there's something, or let's put it this way, there's a prophetic message which God is sending us. And He's saying it through the pandemic and through all of those who are prophets at this moment. And what is actually happening? What is God telling us? He is saying, we are all in this together. That's what He's telling us. We, meaning God and us, through Jesus Christ, we are in this together. And He's speaking to us. And we must understand this one thing: God, our Father, wants us to know that we are one. And here is the part that we are not so used to thinking. We Catholics, we always thought of, well, Jesus died on the cross, Jesus suffered, the humanity of Jesus suffered, and God was in his heaven. And I remember when I was in high school, I thought, wait a minute, God is in heaven and he's happy and he sent down his son. I said, well, that's convenient. There was something wrong with the equation. I didn't know what it was, but I realized there was something wrong. And one day I read Jürgen Moltmann. He's a Protestant theologian, great Protestant theologian. He wrote actually a book about hope in the 1960s and 70s. And it was called The Theology of Hope. And it was a watershed moment. And then he wrote another book called The Crucified God. And then I got it. I didn't grasp it because frankly, we weren't taught this really. And this is what it is. What they're saying is we have had a misunderstanding about Jesus and a misunderstanding about his journey to the cross. Because what the cross is, okay, it stands at the heart of a Trinitarian God. It's not separate. Jesus is not on earth and God is in heaven and completely separate. On the contrary, Jesus made it clear over and over again that we are one. And if you just look at the painting of John of the Cross here at the bottom, one of the few paintings that he did, and you'll notice the view is from above because it's saying God is here. God the Father is here. God is in the cross with Jesus. You cannot separate Jesus from God the Father. Let me try to explain it this way. It might help all of us. If we see God as the source, He is our home from which we came. You see on the right side of the screen the source of the River Jordan. And once upon a time, it was kind of sad. You see a cave at the back. They would throw human beings in there, sometimes children, as a sacrifice to the gods who gave us the water that gave us life. But there is some truth to it. There is a source, and as you go downstream, you're far from the source, but it's still the same water. It's just not the source anymore because it begins somewhere else. And what you're seeing now is the water downstream and further downstream. So what we're trying to say is when we meet Jesus Christ, we are in the stream that comes from the source who is the Father. Now, of course, when Jesus taught us how to pray, and when he talked about the source of whom from whom he was the son of the source, as it were. He wasn't going to tell us our source who art in heaven. It's not very friendly and it didn't fit our language. Jesus wanted to get a message across to us. God our Father is our source. He said this in John at the end of his life. If you had known me, you would have known my Father also. From now on, you do know him, and you have seen him. What he's trying to say, now you're going to see it This was the day before the crucifixion. And he says, you will see and you will know God and you will see him because I'm going to show you who your father, the source from which you came. And he says, you will realize it. You will come to an understanding. And here is, it sounds like it's a very profound theological truth, but in a sense, he says it so clearly. I am in the Father, and you are in me, and I am in you. So what is Jesus doing? He's bringing it together. It's not the Father is there, the Son is here, and the Spirit is our loving connection. It's far more profound than that. I am always in the Father. I am never not in the Father, because what I am is an expression of the Father for you to be able to see. And you know what? You are in me when I am with my Father, and I am with you, and I'm bringing you the Father. I am the way, the truth, and the life. And this is a very scandalous message. When I first heard this, I say, no, wait a minute. So when Jesus is suffering, God the Father is there, and in a sense, God is suffering. Yes, not suffering in the sense of like our body suffers. And he wanted to do this, and God the Father cannot do this because God the Father, who is the source, has no gender. God has no body. That's why he exploded in love and created this universe. And then his only begotten Son is born into this universe. It's a phenomenal mystery. It's a spectacular mystery. His burst of love, which we call the Big Bang, is all of creation as we know it. And then he comes forth by becoming one of us. It's a very scandalous message. And what Jürgen Moltmann says is, look at the cross. This is God, and God is like this. And we say, that cannot be God. He's a failure. He's dying. He's suffering. This is terrible. You're going to tell me that? Yes, that is God. That is what God looks like. If you're looking for a God who can transform you, that God is here. That's the God who can transform you. The one who went through our sufferings with us so that we can emerge from it. Now, we don't like this at all because we don't like the cross. Who wants to suffer? Who wants to die on a cross? Nobody's, oh, me, I'm going to go on. No, no one wants to really die. In fact, Jesus, in the agony in the garden, right after he had said all of this, in the agony in the garden, he says, Father, and he keeps calling him Father because he wants us to know how close. He didn't say, oh God, who you are very far away. No, he didn't say, God, you are very far away. He said, Father, take this away from me. That's how close God is. Because he is in God and God is in him. And then he says, of course, I have to go through this. Now, we don't like this at all, but this is the truth. Now, what is it? What is actually happening here? When we are born, we have a tendency to think God created the world in 7 days and then he rested and that was it. As a matter of fact, I'm very sorry to say, in the 18th and 19th centuries, we had a tendency to think, oh, well, then under Newton's theory, Deus ex machina, you created the world, and then God kind of folded his arms and said, okay, and now it's going to proceed until the end of time. No, creation is not over. Creation is not over. In fact, we are in the midst of it. Can't you see each of us? We're being created as we're sitting here, as we're trying to grasp what is this thing, this tragedy of the cross. And it is a tragedy. The glory comes later. And as we're trying to look at this tragedy. He dies a failure, in suffering. He's powerless. He's abandoned. And what is he trying to tell us? Part of our growth is to let go of everything. And I'm going to say a little more about this. So part of our growth is to let go of everything. I'll explain it a little later. So the first station, Jesus is condemned to death. What is going to die? What's going to die as a symbol of our death is our ego. That's what's got to go. Our separateness. And most of all, we have to stop judging. We are judgmental, we're tribalistic, we have anger, and we have violence. We solve things through anger. When you want something really badly, what do? We start shouting it louder and louder, and we get violent. And of course, some people take this to an extreme. And of course, anger is not a bad emotion. Anger is like, again, it's like a fever. It's just telling us there's something wrong. That's all right. But when we carry that anger and it leads us to violence, now we've got a big problem. Let me use the story of Korea because this will tell us where the problem is. What is that thing that Jesus is trying to tell us needs to change? And as I said, this famous COVID-19 that we have right now is the fever that tells us what is wrong and what is it that's wrong. We are torn apart by our egos. But you know what? Deep inside, we want to be one. There's this beautiful, beautiful statue in Korea. And this is the story. Some people say it's a true story, some but people say it's sort of like, how things are not actual, but they're truthful. This is truthful. Whether it's actual, we don't know. But it's truthful, absolutely. And the story goes that there are two brothers, and one joins the South Koreans and one joins the North Koreans in the middle of the war. And one day they have to meet each other. They go to the forest and they come face to face, the two brothers, and they fall into each other's arms because we are not meant to be divided. That is our problem. And that's what our ego does. Our ego separates us. The real definition of sin is separation from God, separation from others, and the worst of all, separation from ourselves, from our true self. All the ribbons that you see there, people go to the boundary between North and South Korea and they leave these little ribbons. It's beautiful to see. I went there and it will really make your hair stand. Each ribbon says, we want to be united. We don't want to be separate. We want to be one country. Why can't we get over this tribalism that we have? And by the way, we are all, we have, each of us has our own tribalism. Oh, we're better educated. Oh, we're more cultured. Some people even say, well, I'm prettier, I'm handsomer, I'm better at athletics. We all want to be number one and push everybody else to one side. We want to be successful. And you others, you are unsuccessful. And we want to hang out with the successful people. That's all tribalism. But deep down inside, as you see this volunteer with a Red Cross, with a child in Africa, deep down inside, we really want to be one. And so, what is the message of the cross? It is non-violence. When they slap you on one cheek, you turn the other. This is really, really tough. When somebody hits you, what you want to do, you do one of two ways. Either you become very depressed or you want to go back and hit them because they just hit you. And what Jesus is saying is no, no, this is your chance to overcome your ego. When somebody slaps you on one cheek, turn the other, because now you're going to surpass, transform, and transcend your ego. You have Jacinta here, who's the prime minister in New Zealand. And after the terrible tragedy, what does she do? She goes and she hugs all the Muslims. And lots of people didn't like her for this. And a lot of people did. But there were some who didn't like the whole idea because these Muslims give us a lot of trouble. Well, she goes and she hugs what the others see is the problem. And so when we had our session, Ludette did this for us, and we said the Our Father. She said the Our Father. And I'll just ask you to just say the Our Father quietly to yourself. We adore you, O Christ, and we bless you, because by your cross you showed us the love of the Father and revealed the way to make us one. You showed it to us and you revealed it to us. This is how we become one. The second station. And we have this now in our everyday life. Everything that happens now, Jesus is resurrected, it's true, but Jesus is very much here. In other words, the way of the cross continues, but now it's through us. Jesus said, okay, I'm going to do it first, and then you, and you follow with me, and I'll be there with you. When Jesus accepts the cross, he's saying, I'm going to be there with you. It's basically our cross. And what did this nun in Myanmar said? She knelt in front of the police and she said, please kill me instead, because they were pursuing the children behind her. And she said, no, please, please spare the children, please. And she knelt before them, and you will see two of them knelt right beside her because they understood. And there's a beautiful story, by the way, that was told to me by somebody, one of my friends at LST and also at um, IFRS, Institute of Formation and Religious Studies. And she said that it seems these policemen are going door to door, and they knocked on the door and was seen, the people inside saw him, and one of them had something on his helmet and it said, I don't want to do this, pray for me. I don't want to do this. There are others who are not, because you'll see this nun here, and what actually happens is they do go over her head and they do start shooting people. But you'll notice some did not. And she said, all Myanmar is grieving. Sister Anne Rose New Tawang, who's a 45-year-old nun, she fell on her knees and she said, I begged them not to shoot and torture the children. Just shoot me, kill me instead. That's what Jesus did. She's doing exactly what Jesus did. Kill me instead. I'm going to do it for you. And she's absolutely following it. Kill me instead, not them. They're innocent children. I beg them. And you know what she says? I can't stand sitting watching it happening, seeing what's happening right in front of my eyes, because Myanmar is grieving. I can't just sit around and do nothing. I think we Filipinos have to think about this very, very carefully, because there are people in our country who are grieving. And we're talking about masses of people in poverty. And her first encounter was on February 28th. She was alone. But in the second, you'll notice the bishop is beside her. And to the left, you'll see some of her sisters. And they were there to protect her. And so say a Hail Mary quietly. We adore you, O Christ, and we bless you, because by your cross you showed us the love of the Father and revealed the way to make us one. And the third station, Jesus falls for the first time. Now, you must know this. Jesus must have been a very strong human being. Must have been, because that he fell once and not and many times. It doesn't say one, two, three, or how many times we just knew he must have fallen, because when you have the scourging, it's 39 whips typically. In some countries it's 28, in others it's 40, but typically of this era it was 39. But at the end of each leather strap there was a hook. Many people did not survive the scourging, because they hit you and then they rip, and they do this 39 times. That he could stand up at all is a miracle. but they wanted him to carry his cross, and they put it over your neck like this. So Jesus falls flat on his face. He's falling, he's failing, but know this, wherever, please remember this forever. If you believe in Jesus Christ and in the resurrection, in his death and resurrection, every single time there's destruction, there is creation. No doubt. We just can't see it. Just like the caterpillar and the butterfly. There's a cocoon, and as the caterpillar is dying, the butterfly is being born. Always, always. And the beautiful thing about fall are the colors. Everything is dying actually, but it's gorgeous. I was in a plane once going over Vermont, and it was fall. It's just spectacular. And what's actually happening? They're dying. The leaves are dying. And this is the beautiful thing about life, especially those of us, of course, we never know when we're dying, but those of us who are a little on in years, we know it's coming. And many of us don't look as good, and we have wrinkles, and we're forgetting things, and we're irritable, and people get irritated with us. And years have passed, and we haven't really changed very much, and we're still impatient, etc. We say, oh, I can't change because I'm really like that. Well, yes, you can change. Absolutely, you can change. It is possible, but you can't do it alone. That's what the way of the cross is all about. You can only do it if you're in the heart of God, only there. And you have to go to the heart of God in prayer. And that's why centering prayer is a very beautiful way of praying. You go to the heart of God. Only in God can it change. That's the only place you can transcend your ego. And again, say the glory be quietly. We adore you, O Christ, and we bless you, because by your cross you showed us the love of the Father and revealed the way to make us one. He showed it to us. This is how we're going to be one, because we are, not only are we going to be made one, actually we are one when we don't realize it. COVID is telling us that whether we like it or not, we're in this together. We are one whether we like it or not. And it's a beautiful mystery. And the fourth station is Jesus meets his mother. Strictly speaking, it's not in the beginning of the gospel part, this part of the gospel. It's at stations of the cross, at the end of the way of the cross, at the foot of the cross, Stabat Mater, when she's at the foot of the cross. But how can a mother not follow her son? Of course she is there. And I'm going to play for you a song. It's Mary Did You Know? And I'm going to I chose the one by the original composer, Mark Lowry. And there are two beautiful parts of the song that are very, very significant. Not only is it poetic, it's phenomenally true. When you kiss your child, when he says, when you kiss your son, you kiss the face of God. Jesus said, whatever you do to anybody, you're doing it to me. I am in you and you are in me. That not I, you individually and everybody. Whenever you kiss someone, you're kissing the face of God. And at the end of the song, he says, and you, the Lamb of God, who is Jesus, you are I am. I am is Yahweh. You are in the Father, Yahweh. So you are the Lamb, the Son, who dies on the cross, and you are the God. Here's the song.
Mary, did you know that your baby boy will one day walk on water? Mary, did you know your will save our sons and daughters. Did you know that your baby boy has come to make you new? And this child that you've delivered will soon deliver you. Mary, did you know that your baby boy will give sight to the blind man? Mary, did you know your baby boy will calm the storm with his hand? Did you know that your baby boy has walked where angels trod? And when you kiss your little baby, you have kissed the face of God. Oh, Mary, did you the blind will see, the deaf will hear, the dead will live again, the lame will leap, the dumb will speak, the praises of praises Mary, did you know your baby boy is Lord of all creation? Mary, did you know that your baby boy will one day rule the nations? Did you know that your baby boy is heaven's perfect lamb? This sleeping child holding is the great
And now we say the Hail Mary quietly to yourself. We adore you, O Christ, and we bless you, because by your cross you showed us the love of the Father and revealed the way that makes us one. And the fifth station, Simon of Cyrene. Here's something quite interesting. We typically think that someone helped Jesus carry his cross. I don't know if you realize Jesus is asking us to be Simon of Cyrene. And all of us have the opportunity to do this. And by the way, there's only one cross. Yes, it takes different forms in our life, but there's one cross. That is our separation. That is the true cross. Yes, there is pain, and yes, there is suffering, and it's part of our transformational process in this world. And there will always be a Simon of Cyrene. Sometimes you will be that Cyrene for someone else. Sometimes someone will be the Cyrene for you. And sometimes we as a whole have to do it. And sometimes when we feel we are most alone, you will feel the presence of Jesus Christ. And you will feel the presence of God who is I am. But to do this, you have to go to the depth, to the heart of God, in the silence and the darkness that we call centering prayer. There are many names for it. The Jesus prayer. For the Buddhists, it's just perfect silence. And it all comes to the same thing. We have to quieten our monkey mind and go to that place, which is called the cloud of unknowing, where we don't know, we just unknow, because we have to not know what we know. That has to be quiet. Then you will experience another element of God. So I'll ask you this question as you say the Our Father. Is there somebody in your life for whom you need to be Simon of Cyrene? And sometimes it's really very simple. It's just calling them up, sending them a message. And most of all, and you'll say, well, I don't know who to do it to, or I'm shy. All of that comes from our ego. That's the thing that has to die, the ego. It's the ego. And when that goes, it'll be very easy for you to move forward and reach out to someone. We adore you, O Christ, and we bless you because by your cross you showed us the love of the Father and revealed the way to make us one. And the sixth station is Veronica wipes the face of Jesus. Again, this is not in scripture. It is a symbol again. It's probably true. There were mourning women there, and that's very typical when somebody's dying or there's a death. These mourners come. We have that in the Philippines as well. But it's very typical in this case because this way of the cross is not done by anybody else. People were brought to be crucified and they could walk all the way, but Jesus had been scourged. He almost died there. They put him a crown of thorns. They pounded him on the head to, so that the thorns would penetrate his skull. It would be very typical that somebody would come along and wipe the face of Jesus Christ. And you'll notice the leaves are autumn leaves. There's death, but the light is there. I deliberately chose this because of the light. When we wipe the face of other people, the light shines through. And this is the beauty. This is the beauty. We are Veronica's cloth. The face of Jesus is on us. You know, they say Veronica's cloth is somewhere and it's hidden and blah, blah, blah. I don't think that's the one that's important. What the original cloth? Is it there? Is it real? Is it a hoax or not? It doesn't matter. There is a cloth, and that's us. We have to wipe away the blood, sweat, and tears of others. And let me tell you, Jesus looked absolutely terrible. You know, oh, the sweet Jesus, and you wipe his face. No, no, no. It was disgusting. And this is what we're asked to do. So two things happen. When we wipe somebody else's face with our compassion, with our empathy, what happens is that image is left on us. It's also left on them. I'll give you Veronica, by the way. Ver means it's a Latin or Greek. It means true. Icon is image, so true image. So the true image of Jesus Christ is on you when you reach out and wipe away the tears and sorrows of others. So say the Hail Mary. We adore you, O Christ, and we bless you because by your cross you showed us the love of the Father and revealed the way to make us one. The seventh and the eighth station, I put them together for a reason. As a nation, we fall. We fall because abuse continues, because we fail the poor. And none of us can cure the poverty of this world, and none of us individually can stop abuses. And the eighth station is the women weeping. Now this is part of the scripture, and Jesus tells them, "Don't cry for me, cry for yourselves." What was he trying to say? Like all of us, well, we look at Jesus and we say, "Oh, he suffered for us." We're looking at Jesus. Jesus said, "No, you don't get the message. The message is, look at yourselves, you human race. You look at each other. The way I look, this is what you're doing to each other. Every time we judge, every time we refuse to forgive, every time we turn away from somebody, people that we back away from, people that we well, I guess it's when we're very self-righteous and we think we're better than they are. Who said we're better? And here's the big question mark. It's been 500 years, okay, 500 years of Christianity. And where are we now? 500 years of Christianity in the Philippines. Where are we now? This statue is beautiful. It's in Luneta Park, and that's Inang Bayan. She's a symbol of the Filipino. And the man who's kneeling, that's a farmer, a poor person with his face in the soil. 500 years. Are they still there? Yes. And the child is looking up at Inang Bayan and saying, give us a better world. Now, every generation and every politician says, I'm going to give you a better world. And all of us, when we're graduating from school, well, we want to go out and make the world better. And we do. We try. And I'm sure if you're listening to this YouTube, I'm positive you're doing something to help other people. Absolutely positive. But here's the trick. We have to understand that every effort that we make, we're trying to lift humanity, to lift the Filipinos, to lift humanity altogether. That is what COVID means. We have to lift it up together. We all need this vaccine against our famous ego. It's the ego that's our virus. And we have to do it together. If one does it or the other, it's not enough. We've got to do it together, and we have to help each other to do it. That's the call of the seventh and the eighth station. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to, and by the way, one thing that you might look at Inang Bayan, look at her, she's looking forward. And one thing about the Filipino, we have a sense of hope. We are kind, we are naturally giving, we're naturally generous. The Filipino has this is my feeling. When you look at the world, okay, we haven't got the greatest um, technicians in the world, although we have many of them. We may not be the best in the whole world and everything, but there's something we're really good at. And we're pretty good at a lot of things, by the way. And we're not trying to beat anybody else. But there's something that we're really good at. And we have a sense of hope. That's why we probably sing and dance so well. And you know what we have? We have a great sense of family. The difficult thing is be careful in family not to be tribalistic. Oh, it's our family. It's my family. If it's my family, you've just missed the point. It's not my family. It's my family, meaning everybody else. So my family is where I practice to make a family of everybody. That is the trick. If you just say, oh, my family, my relatives, well, hello, the ego is very, very present there. So what we're trying to say is, as Filipinos, take that sense of family, which is so powerful in this country, this sense of empathy, this sense of kindness, this sense of what we have tremendous. Everybody loves Filipinos because Filipinos are so warm. It's a very beautiful characteristic. Now we have to elevate it by lifting up our country. So I'm going to play Libera's version of Bayan Ko by Freddie Aguilar. And I'll ask you just one thing: pray for our country. Pray that all of us lift our country up. And our elections are coming, and we're going to have to stick our neck out just like that nun. And we have to say, go ahead, kill me if you have to, but I'm going to stand up for the children. She said, the children. That's why that child is so important. We have to do it for the children. And that's what Jesus is asking us. What did he say? Let the little children come to me. Let them come. That's our job. So let us say the Hail Mary, and let us pray for our country. We adore you, O Christ, and we bless you, because by your cross You have showed us the love of the Father and revealed the way that makes us one. And so Jesus falls for the third time. And probably this is the most difficult. I know people who are addicted and they try over and over again. And it's probably the third that's the worst, then the fourth, and the fifth. And they just want to give up. If you only realize how close you are to the end, because it does take many, many falls. And what do we have to learn at the end of this? Meister Eckhart said, if the only thing we ever say is thank you, that's enough. So if we can learn to say thank you for this failure, thank you that I've been rejected, thank you that a friend of mine, someone I thought was my friend, betrayed me. Thank you because people don't understand me. Thank you because I try very hard and it never seems to be enough. But just keep trying because nobody said we had to succeed. That is our problem in the 21st century. We lifted success to such a level that it's just beyond comprehension. We will go to the extent of cheating to succeed. People cheat just to get into a university. For heaven's sakes. I want a great education, but I'm going to have to get in. I'm going to have to buy my way in. Well, you just taught that's the worst education you could have given your child, to cheat your way in. And we're like that about so many things. And it comes out in very small ways. Most of, if you're listening to this video, you don't do anything tremendously terrible by human standards. But that doesn't make any difference because what we have to learn, which is very strange, is how to fail and yet be thankful because there is so much on our side, so much. So let us say, Glory be to the Father. We adore you, O Christ, and we bless you because by your cross you showed us the love of the Father and revealed the way that makes us one. And now we get to the 10th station. Jesus is stripped of his garments. Now, this is the ultimate humiliation. When they get to the foot of the cross, of the Calvary, and they have to nail them to the cross, they do one last thing to everybody before they're crucified, which is to strip them of their garments. And all of us realize when you're stripped of your garments, that's the greatest humiliation. Like everything's being taken from you. And you say you're king of the Jews, fine, I'm going to put you up on that cross. And I'm very struck by what Pilate said because the Pharisees wanted to change. He said he's king of the Jews. He said, no, he's king of the Jews. There's something that Pilate understood. It was very strange. First, he flogged him and thought, well, maybe this will satisfy the Pharisees. No, they wanted him dead. True violence. And it's taken us years. You have the Crusades. It's terrible. We have the genocides, genocide after genocide. And in the Spanish Civil War, you have priests on one side allowing the others to kill the other priests who are on the other side, and the priests on this side killing the priests on the other side, allowing it. We think that by violence we can do it. There's only one way. It's non-violence. It's a really, really scandalous thing. This is your God, and your God is like this. And what are we hiding? Depression, mental illness, lack of wealth, lack of education, social rejection, inability to kick an addiction. All of these people, we owe them an apology. We owe them an apology. I'm sorry that I'm judgmental. Remember, we have to come to the point of forgiveness. And these are this is also at the border of the Korean, North and South Korea. The Japanese donated this statue apologizing to the comfort women of Korea. And I think there were 6 of them put all over Korea, South Korea. And this is one of them. And you will notice, by the way, these comfort women, sometimes they had 70. One of them was saying they had 70 to 76 men in one day. In one day. And this is called comfort. It's incredible. This is what we human beings do to each other. Now, the beautiful, oh, by the way, there's one thing I noticed, you have to notice, she's barefoot. What does that mean? Stripped of everything. In other words, you can't even run. You can't hide from us because we've captured you and there's no way you can get away. And also, being barefoot means you're humiliated. You know, in most cultures, when the shoes that you wear is a huge sign about who you are. And when you're a servant, you're either barefoot or you have very poor shoes. That's the whole issue. It's a sign of who you are. You're second class. And you notice what the Japanese did. They put a little bird on her shoulder to say, "We are sorry, and I hope we can have peace." Now, this is the toughest part to be a Christian. We have to forgive even these men who did this to these women 76 times a day. Even Hitler, who killed millions of Jews, we still have to forgive him because judgment is not for us to say. It is not. We can say the action is bad. We can think it's terrible and we have to try to stop it. But again, when you go to the heart of it, in the heart of God, there is forgiveness. If we understand the prodigal son, it's not a story about the son, it's a story about the father. The father who has forgiven the son, even as he took the money and left and wasted it all over the place. He had already forgiven him. Just come home. Come home. Come back to your source. So let us say the Our Father. And we say, "Our Father who art in heaven, thy kingdom come." What is the kingdom? What is the kingdom? Each time we forgive, the kingdom is coming. Each time we love, the kingdom is here. Each time we wipe the face of the blood, the sweat, and the tears of others, the kingdom is here. Every single time we are compassionate, the kingdom is here. We adore you, O Christ, and we bless you because by your cross you showed us the love of the Father and revealed the way to make us one. Again, there was a time of liberation theology, and there were two factions. One said you have to come back within the church and be violent, and the other side said no. We cannot go to violence. We cannot. And the 11th station, Jesus dies on the cross. And here's this brings us to the center. And this is what I meant by we have to forgive. What were the words of Jesus? Father, Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. This is what we have to say. No matter how tremendous, how terrible a person, they don't know, because if they really knew, they wouldn't do it. It's because they don't know, because that scaffolding is still there, that false self is still there, and the true self has not emerged. All you have is the false self. And the false self is not necessarily evil. You build up the false self. Well, I have to be some success, I have to be educated, have to be, um, have a good life and blah, 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 blah. All of that's wonderful. It's all fine. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's still the scaffolding. The inner self, the true self, you find it in the heart of the Trinity. This is our God, and our God is like this. So let us say the glory be. The Blessed Trinity is on the cross with Jesus. The Blessed Trinity is there when it's our cross. And again, there is only one cross, and we all share it. Lamb of God, you take away the sin of it doesn't say sins of the world. There's only one sin. And that one sin is to separate ourselves from God, to separate ourselves from each other, and to separate ourselves between our true self and our false self. And I want to repeat, the false self is not bad. It's temporary and it's a scaffolding. It has to go. So Jesus dies on the cross. And as I just said, our false self has to die so that the true self can be born. And it happens simultaneously. The destruction and the construction, the destruction and the creation is simultaneous. And let us say the Our Father. On earth as it is in heaven. Isn't that phenomenal? What is there in heaven? There's only one thing. It's a Trinity, and it's a Trinity of love. That's what it is. So in heaven as on earth, that's what the Our Father says. The kingdom of God is a kingdom of love. And here's the beauty. Jesus calls us friends. It makes us equal. You know why we're equal? I am in you and you are in me. And I bring you to the Father. We adore you, O Christ, and we bless you because by your cross you have showed us the love of the Father and revealed the way to make us one. Remember, the Father is the source. That source is love. You're going to recognize the face of this person. It's, of course, it's Audrey Hepburn. And she's a beautiful woman. And she had a marvelous career. And at the end of her career, she said, I'm going to go with the United Nations, and I'm going to go, and I'm going to go to the poorest of the poor. Jesus is laid in his mother's arms. This is the message that Audrey Hepburn took to heart. Look at the way she's carrying that child. That's more beautiful than any movie she ever made. You know, Breakfast at Tiffany's was a play, was a movie. This is real. This is the child. This is where you see who she is. So she let go of everything to go there and be one. And why did she have this sense? Because she came out of the when she came out of the war, she had nothing, absolutely nothing. And then she comes to the United States. So she knows what it is to be in a war, and she knows what it is to have nothing and to have everything taken away from you. And so she holds that child. That's what we have to do. We have to carry each other. We have to carry each other. So let us say the Hail Mary. We adore you, O Christ, and we bless you, because by your cross you showed of the love of the Father. That's the love of our source. Our source is love. Isn't that phenomenal? We come from a burst of energy of love. That's where we came from. However, we have to learn that we are one, and we have to, that true self that can transcend the ego, that's the story of our life. When our true self can transcend our egocentric tribalism. First thing that has to go is judgment. The answer is thank you and I'm sorry. And Jesus is laid in the tomb. And now you will notice there are butterflies here. I put some butterflies in to show that in this ice, the tomb is dark and cold, and most people are quite afraid of dying because it's dark. We don't have to be afraid of anything. The only thing that's there is the beginning of life. When we die, it's like those two brothers who meet each other. We will fall into the arms of God. It's a beautiful message. It's hard for us to see because it seems very dark. But it's a beautiful place to be. And one day we will all be there. So that's the last thing we have to let go of. We have to let go of this life. And when people die around us, we have to let them go. Sooner or later, we have to let them go to the heart of the Father who is our source. the source of our life and our love. Please say the glory be. We adore you, O Christ, and we bless you because by your cross you showed us the love of the Father, our source, and revealed to us the way to make us one. And so Jesus Christ rises. Of course, he does. You know, we're saying with COVID, the new normal will not be like the old one. No, it won't be. Just like the Second World War, so will this. So will this. We are brought to a new life. Jesus Christ, the human being, actually dies. That body is gone. What rises is a new reality. That's the beauty of it. It's the cosmic Christ. And every planet you see out there, when you go out and look at the stars, every planet, every sun, every meteor, the dark space, the black holes, Jesus energy, Jesus, the cosmic Christ energy is everywhere. And all of that, if you look at Julian of Norwich, what did Jesus say? Is just as small as a little hazelnut. It seems so vast to us. In the vision of Julian of Norwich, Jesus was holding this little hazelnut, and she said, "Why are you holding it?" Because it's everything that I have made, and I love it. That's what Jesus Christ told her. So the earth is just charged. It's a beautiful poem. The earth is charged with the glory of God. That's our future. That is our future. And so I thank all of you for being here, and to remember we're all in this together. We have to rise up together. We have to put ourselves forward and accept our role and our cross and our prophetic mission. Kill me, not the children. I will give my life. I will give my life for the children, for the next generation, for the people around me. And the only way I can do this is to let go of my ego, let the scaffolding fall, and my true self will begin. And that self has to go to the heart of God that's in that cloud of unknowing, where we don't know, we just experience. And here we have You Raise Me Up, written by Josh Groden, as you know. And you know, he's just come out of a very, very long sort of experience of depression. And it's funny that he wrote this song. Another person wrote the lyrics, a friend of his, Graham, I believe his name is. So let us pray for all of those who are depressed and all of those who feel they are not good enough. Because when Jesus rises from the dead, we are all more than good enough. Absolutely more. And I will end now with The Lord is My Shepherd. Lulet Saragosa sang this. And I composed this with a very good friend, Socorro de Castro. And I think the beautiful thing that we have in Christianity, which we also borrowed from our Jewish sort of like our, they are, we come from the Jewish tradition. We understand that the highest birds fly, the eagles, and when we see a bird fly, we understand that it rises on the air and on the wind of God's love, compassion, and empathy and forgiveness. And the symbol of the shepherd is because, to tell you the truth, sheep aren't very smart. They get caught all the time. They're not really very smart. And even when they're going to be brought to slaughter, they don't even cry because they don't seem to understand what's happening. And Jesus, it's like Jesus said, I'm going to take care of you. Don't worry. I understand you guys, you human beings, you're not really very bright. And you never, takes you so long. You know, one of my favorite lines in the gospel is every time Jesus says, I've been here so long and you still don't know me. You just don't get it. What's the matter with you guys? But he said, okay, you're like a sheep and I'll be with you.
Lord, you're my shepherd. Take me by the hand. Lead me where your waters run and where the mountains of promise stand. Resting in your shadow, darkness taunting me. You're the stillness in my soul, the presence that makes me whole. Soaring like an eagle, riding on your wings, praising you each morning. Now my heart can sing. Soaring like an eagle, riding on your wings. With the joy you bring, my cup is overflowing. Lord, you're my shepherd. You have set me free. There is nothing that I need because your love is enough for me. Resting in your shadow, darkness taunting me. You're the stillness in my soul, the presence that makes me whole. Soaring like an eagle, riding on your wings, praising you each morning. Now my heart can sing. Soaring like an eagle, right across the sky. dancing as we roam. God, you are my moon. You walk with me to take me home. My God, and me. My God, my melody in my soul. We are dancing as we roam. God,
I want to give you one more song, and this is the Lord's Prayer. It's about saving the environment, justice for the poor, the oppressed, and that we as one can move forward together.